Welcome to Constant TV, where legitimacy and consistency rule. In this video, we are going to bring to you the biography of prominent South African freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela. If this is your first time, please endeavor to subscribe, like, comment and share our channel. Thank you. Let's delve in. Early life. On July 18, 1918, Mandela was born in the Umtata village of Mvezo, which was then a part of the Cape province of South Africa. With the forename Rolihlahla, a Xhosa word that means troublemaker, informally, he was later referred to by his clan name, Madiba. In the Transkeian Territories of the present-day Eastern Cape region of South Africa, the Thembu Kingdom was ruled by his patrilineal great-grandfather, Ngubengcuka. Nelson's surname came from Mandela, a son of Ngubengcuka, who was also his grandfather. Mandela's cadet branch of the royal family was morganatic, meaning that its members were not able to inherit the throne but were acknowledged as hereditary royal councillors. This was because Mandela was the king's child by a wife of the Ixhiba clan, a so-called left-hand house. The monarch's councillor and local chief, Gadla Henry Mfakaniuswa Mandela, 1880–1928, was assigned to the role in 1915 after his predecessor was charged with corruption by a ruling white magistrate. Nelson Mandela was born into this family. Although Nelson was informed that his father had lost his job for defying the magistrate's irrational demands, Gadla was also fired in 1926 for corruption. Gadla was a polygamist who was devoted to the god Kamata. He had 4 wives, 4 sons, and 9 daughters, all of whom lived in separate villages. Nelson's mother was Nosakini Fanny, the 3rd wife of Gadla, who belonged to the Xhosa Mvezo clan, and she was the right-hand house's Nkedama's daughter. Mandela subsequently said that taboo and traditional Xhosa customs dominated his early existence. He was raised by his mother in the Kunyu village, where he worked as a cattle boy tending herds and spent a lot of time outside with other boys. He had 2 sisters. His mother, a devoted Christian, sent him to a nearby Methodist school when he was around 7 years old, despite the fact that both of his parents were illiterate. Mandela was given the English forename, Nelson, by his instructor after receiving a Methodist baptism. When his father arrived in Kunyu when Mandela was 9 years old, he passed away from an illness that was not properly diagnosed, which Mandela thought to be lung disease. He later described himself as feeling cut adrift and claimed to have inherited his father's stubborn sense of fairness and proud rebelliousness. Mandela's mother brought him to the great place, castle at Mkakazweni, where Chief Ngubengcuka Dalindyebo, the Thembu regent, was given custody over him. Mandela thought that Ngubengcuka and his wife Ngubengcuka raised him alongside their children and treated him like a child, even though he did not see his mother again for many years. As a result of his guardian's Sunday church attendance, Christianity grew to play a big role in Mandela's life. He studied geography, history, Xhosa, and English at the Methodist mission school next to the palace. As he listened to the stories of the elderly guests at the palace, he became interested in African history and was impacted by the anti-imperialist discourse of a visiting chief named Joy. However, he saw the European colonists as heroes at the time, having given Southern Africa access to education and other advantages, rather than as oppressors. He was given the name Dalibunga after traveling to Rolihlahla with Justice and a few other boys when he was 16 years old to undergo the Ulwaluko circumcision ceremony, which symbolized their transformation from boys to men. Fort Hare, Healdtown, and Clarkberry, 1934–1940. Mandela started his secondary education in 1933 at the largest black African school in Thembuland, Clarkberry Methodist High School in Enkobo. The school followed a Western pattern and was intended to provide Mandela with the abilities he would need to become a privy councillor for the Thembu royal house. As a result of being forced to interact with other kids on an equal footing, he claimed to have shed his stuck-up mentality, made his first real friendship with a female, started participating in sports, and discovered a lifetime passion for gardening. After completing his junior certificate in 2 years, he relocated to Healdtown, a Methodist institution in Fort Beaufort that was attended by Justice and most of the Thembu nobility in 1937. The headmaster emphasized how European culture and governance were superior, but Mandela developed a growing interest in native African culture. He made his first non-Xhosa friend who spoke Sotho, and he was influenced by one of his favorite teachers, a Xhosa who defied social norms by getting married to a Sotho. Mandela was a long-distance runner and boxer at Healdtown, where he also spent a lot of his free time. In his second year, he was promoted to prefect. With Ngubengcuka's support, Mandela started his studies for a bachelor's degree in 1939 at Alice, the Eastern Cape's prestigious black university, the University of Fort Hare, which had about 150 pupils. In his first year, he took courses in English, anthropology, politics, native administration, and Roman Dutch law with the goal of working as an interpreter or clerk in the Native Affairs Division. While residing in the Wesley House dorm, Mandela became friends with Oliver Tambo, who would go on to become a close friend and comrade for many years, as well as his own kinsman, Cadet Matanzima. He started ballroom dancing, participated in an Abraham Lincoln Drama Society production, and taught Bible studies in the neighborhood as a member of the Student Christian Association. Despite having friends in the African National Congress, ANC, who supported South Africa's independence from the British Empire, Mandela stayed out of the fledgling movement, and, as the Second World War started, he became an outspoken advocate of the British war effort. He was suspended from the university after participating in a boycott against the quality of the food at the conclusion of his first year as a Student Representative Council, SRC. He never went back to finish his degree. Johannesburg arrivals, 1941 to 1943. After learning that Ngubengcuka had set up marriages for him and Justice when Mandela returned to Mkhekezweni in December 1940, he and Justice fled via Queenstown to Johannesburg, where they eventually arrived in April 1941. After receiving his first sight of South African capitalism in action, a job as a night watchman at Crown Mines, Mandela was sacked when the induna, or headman, realized he was a fugitive. In George Gok Township, where he was staying, Mandela was introduced to realtor and ANC activist Walter Sisulu by his cousin. The latter helped Mandela land a position as an articled clerk at Witkin, Sidelski and Idleman, a legal practice headed by liberal Jew Lazar Sidelski, who supported the ANC's goals. At the company, Mandela made friends with Jewish communist Nat Bregman, who became his first white buddy, and Luby member of the ANC and Communist Party Gau Radebe. When Mandela went to Communist Party events, he was struck by how equally Europeans, Africans, Indians, and colored people interacted. He later said that he did not join the party because he believed that the South African struggle was centered on race rather than class strife and that the party's atheism contradicted his Christian beliefs. In order to further his education, Mandela enrolled in a correspondence course offered by the University of South Africa, where he completed his bachelor's degree at night. Mandela lived in the Alexandra Township, where he rented a room from the Khoma family for a little income. Although the slum was plagued by poverty, crime, and pollution, Mandela always felt a unique connection to Alexandra. He temporarily dated a Swazi woman, although he was ashamed of his poverty, and then made a failed attempt to court his landlord's daughter. Mandela moved into the Witwatersrand Native Labour Association compound to save money and be nearer to downtown Johannesburg. There, he lived with miners from different tribes and once met the Queen Regent of Basutoland during one of the chief's visits. After visiting Johannesburg in late 1941 and offering Mandela forgiveness for fleeing, Ngubengcuka went back to Thembuland, where he passed unexpectedly in the winter of 1942. Rather than serving as a Privy Councillor in Thembuland, Mandela chose to return to Johannesburg to pursue a career in politics as a lawyer after passing his BA exams in early 1943. Revolutionary activity and imprisonment. Mandela's political involvement began in earnest when he moved to Johannesburg, initially to avoid an arranged marriage. Here, he worked as a mine security officer and later studied law at the University of Witwatersrand, where he became increasingly involved with the African National Congress, ANC. In 1944, Mandela, along with Tambo and others, helped form the ANC Youth League, ANCYL, which sought to transform the ANC into a more radical movement aimed at mass action and the rejection of white minority rule. In the 1950s, Mandela rose through the ranks of the ANC and became one of the key figures in the defiance campaign against unjust apartheid laws. His activism led to multiple arrests and trials. The most notable was the treason trial, 1956 to 1961, in which Mandela and others were charged with high treason against the state. They were ultimately acquitted, but the trial was a prolonged ordeal. By 1961, Mandela had concluded that peaceful protest was not sufficient, leading him to co-found Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation, the armed wing of the ANC. This move marked the beginning of an era of sabotage against government installations. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and sentenced to 5 years for incitement and leaving the country illegally. While serving this sentence, he was further prosecuted in the Rivonia trial, 1963 to 1964, where he and several others were sentenced to life imprisonment for sabotage and other charges. Mandela was incarcerated on Robben Island for 18 of his 27 years in prison, later being moved to Pollsmoor Prison and Victor Verster Prison. Despite the harsh conditions, Mandela's resolve did not wane. He continued to be a symbolic leader for the anti-apartheid movement, communicating with the outside world through covert means. Presidency of South Africa, 1994 to 1999. Mandela's release from prison on February 11, 1990, marked the beginning of the end for apartheid. He played a crucial role in the negotiations to dismantle apartheid and establish multiracial elections, culminating in the first such elections in 1994. Mandela became South Africa's first black president on May 10, 1994. His presidency was characterized by efforts to reconcile the divided nation. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, to address the human rights abuses of the past. Mandela's administration also focused on tackling socio-economic issues, including poverty, inequality, and economic growth. He worked to dismantle the institutionalized racism and fostered a culture of unity and cooperation. Internationally, Mandela's presidency marked a return to global respectability for South Africa. He championed human rights, democracy, and peace, gaining international acclaim and strengthening South Africa's diplomatic relationships. Post-presidency and final years. Mandela chose not to seek re-election in 1999, handing over power to his deputy, Thabo Mbeki. Post-presidency, Mandela continued to be active in public life, advocating for peace, reconciliation, and social justice. He became an elder statesman, involved in various global initiatives, including the fight against HIV/AIDS, a cause deeply personal to him after the death of his son, Makgatho, from the disease in 2005. He also established the Nelson Mandela Foundation, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, aiming to promote his legacy of peace, equality, and education. Mandela's public appearances became less frequent as he aged, with his last major public appearance being at the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa. Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95. His death was mourned globally, and he was celebrated for his unparalleled contribution to the struggle against apartheid and his vision for a democratic and free South Africa. Political ideology. Mandela's political ideology was shaped by his experiences with colonialism and apartheid. He was influenced by Marxism and socialism during his early years, believing in the need for a radical transformation of society. However, his approach was pragmatic. As a leader, he sought to balance revolutionary ideals with the practicalities of governance, emphasizing reconciliation, nation-building, and inclusive democracy. Mandela was also a staunch advocate for human rights and equality. He believed in the inherent dignity of all individuals and fought tirelessly against racial discrimination. His ideology was not confined to South Africa. He was an ardent supporter of global peace and justice, often speaking out against oppression and injustice worldwide. Personality and personal life. Mandela's personality was characterized by his remarkable humility, resilience, and compassion. Despite the adversities he faced, he remained optimistic and dedicated to his cause. He was known for his charismatic presence, eloquence, and ability to inspire others. Mandela's personal life was complex. He married 3 times. His first marriage to Evelyn Toko Mays ended in divorce. His second marriage to Winnie Madikizela was marked by their joint struggle against apartheid, but also by personal and political turmoil, leading to their separation in 1992 and divorce in 1996. His third marriage to Graca Machel, the widow of Mozambican President Samora Machel, in 1998, was marked by mutual respect and partnership. Mandela was also a father to 6 children and had numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren. His personal sacrifices and the time spent away from his family due to his political activities and imprisonment were significant, but he remained deeply loved and respected by his family and close friends. Reception and legacy. Nelson Mandela's legacy is monumental. He is celebrated globally as a symbol of resistance to oppression and a champion of freedom and human rights. His ability to forgive his oppressors and his dedication to reconciliation set a powerful example of leadership. In South Africa, Mandela is revered as the father of the nation. His efforts to dismantle apartheid and build a democratic society have left an indelible mark on the country's history. The values he stood for continue to influence South African politics and society. Internationally, Mandela is a figure of immense respect and admiration. He has received numerous awards and honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. His life and work have been the subject of countless books, films, and documentaries. Mandela's legacy continues through various institutions and initiatives established in his name. The annual Mandela Day, celebrated on his birthday, encourages people around the world to engage in acts of service and reflect on his contributions to humanity. Conclusion. Nelson Mandela's life exemplifies the profound impact of resilience, leadership, and unwavering commitment to justice and equality. From his humble beginnings in the Eastern Cape to his central role in dismantling apartheid and steering South Africa towards democracy, Mandela's journey is marked by extraordinary courage and dedication. His legacy as a champion of human rights and reconciliation endures, inspiring future generations to pursue a more just and equitable world. Mandela's life and work continue to remind us of the power of forgiveness, the importance of unity, and the enduring fight for freedom and human dignity. Thanks for watching.